If you're on the hunt to land your dream tech job this year, then you've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a step-by-step guide on how to craft a winning resume that will get you your next job interview. But before we dive into all the juicy details, I have a quick tip for you. I would like to share my 5 tips for crafting a winning resume. So I call it Push C. The P stands for properly format your resume. U is to use numbers and figures as much as possible in your resume. S is to sell yourself and the value that you bring to the team. H highlights your achievements and your accomplishments. And the C is to cleverly insert keywords related to the job that you're applying to. Alright, you know me, I always come bearing so much gifts and providing value to you. So before we even dive into all we'll be talking about today, in the description box below I have a free resume template that you can apply all the things that we learned today. So go ahead to download it if you need a template to create your resume. Alright, so the question on your mind now is probably, how do I start creating a resume? What are the things I need to include? How do I create a job-winning resume? Well, every resume has 7 major sections and I'll highlight them below. The first is the personal details section. This is usually at the top of your resume. The second is the career profile. Third, you have the experience section. You have your education. The fifth is the industry skills and the tools that I use. Sixth, you have the awards and the certification section. And finally, the 7th section is recommendations. This is optional, but personally, I've used recommendations a lot, and the conversion I've gotten from just applying to jobs has been nothing short of amazing. If I have to put the figure to it, it's about 70% conversion from submitting my resume to getting an interview. So stick around till the end of this video because I'll be sharing everything you need to give you the confidence that you need to have to craft a resume from scratch. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the first section of your resume. This is the part that contains your personal details. So it's your personal details section. So this should be very obvious and it should be like the first thing that a recruiter sees when they check your resume. So it's usually at the top of your resume. So your personal details section should include things like your name, your location. Your location is your city and your country. There's absolutely no need for you to put your full house address. Now, underneath your name, you need to put the job title that you're applying for or your current role if it closely aligns or relates to the position that you're targeting. Another thing you want to do in your personal section is to link it to your online presence. So add links to your LinkedIn profile, your personal or portfolio websites. This helps hiring managers quickly understand your career goals and just helps them get a good and quick feel of you and if you'll be a good fit for that job. So that's about it for the first section, which is the personal details section. Now let's move on to the career profile section, which is section 2 of your resume. So your career profile is a brief statement, usually 2 to 3 lines at the top of your resume that shows the employer why you're qualified for that job. So remember that you only have a few seconds to prove yourself to hiring managers and recruiters why they should call you for an interview. So you need to make this section count. For example, the career profile of a product manager could read something like this. Do you see how quickly that highlights, your key skills, your experience, and quantifiable achievements that you have as a product manager? That's the kind of impact that you want to have, when people read your resume. That's the power of having a career profile section. That's the kind of impact that you want to have immediately a recruiter grabs your resume. You want them to instantly see the value that you bring. If you love to explore some of the highest paying non-coding tech jobs out there, please check out my video. I have a video on this. On to the third section of your resume, your work experience. This is the most crucial and most important part of your resume. I like to say it's the crown of your resume. So before you start creating your work experience, it's important to think about all the places that you've worked prior to this job that you're applying for. The goal is not to include everything, but instead you want to focus on the most relevant and the most recent experiences to that job that you're applying to. As a rule of thumb, I always recommend not including roles that are more than 10 years old, unless they are exceptional and they are directly relevant to the job that you're applying for. So go ahead to create this list, just create it, put everything down, and then once you've identified the relevant roles from your big list of work experiences, your next job is to piece in, you piece together the transferable skills and the keywords that you need to include in each work experience. For each of the roles that you've held, you need to include the company name, your job title or the role when you worked there, the dates that you worked there. These dates are like the duration you worked there. This is just the month and the year while you were there. And when listing your work experience, it's important that you start with the most recent role at the top, and then in reverse chronological order, you start going backwards. So, for example, the role you had in 2024 would come first, and then in descending order, you work your way down to the role you had, let's say, in 2019. This is how to write your work experience. And for each work experience section, you need to focus on selling yourself. So for each role, you briefly describe the scope, the responsibilities that you had, and the important aspects of the position. And to do this, you need to use bullet points. Instead of writing them in a paragraph, use bullet points to highlight all these achievements. Each bullet point should be about 2 to 3 lines long, nothing overly lengthy. It should be very skimmable for the recruiters to instantly look through and get a feel of who you are. You also want to use strong action verbs like executed, initiated, directed, and so on. These bullet points should include all the tangible results of your efforts on that particular role. I cover a lot more on this in my video, mistakes that you should avoid making on your resume, so please check that out. One advice I have for you when writing your work experience section is to include numbers and figures. Remember push C at the beginning of this video. The U there stands for use numbers and figures. Quantifying your achievements with numbers and figures helps, instantly prove the value and the impact that you had on that role. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Your like really helps this video rank in YouTube algorithm, so I'll appreciate that. Also, I have a free resume template to help you put all that we've discussed today into action, so make sure you download it before leaving this video. The link is in the description box below. All right, moving on to the next section, which is the education section of your resume. This is where you need to include things like your university education and the degrees that you earned, such as bachelor's degrees, masters, or even PhDs. And if you do not have a formal education or university degree, but you've completed special trainings or certifications, this is a great place to include this as well. For each entry in this section, you need to include the name of your institution or your school, the degree or the certification that you obtained, and also the field of the study or the specialization if it applies to you. You also need to have the graduation date or your expected graduation date if you are still a student. All of these are incredibly valuable to potential employers that are looking for people to hire, people to fit, these roles that they have. So how are you feeling so far? Are you feeling pumped up or you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed? One thing I have to say is when writing your resume from scratch, it can be a bit overwhelming, but one thing that helps me is to take breaks and pauses. So don't try to do everything at a go. Take breaks and pauses and then come back to it. And if you rather have an expert to write your resume for you, I have the perfect service for you. Check the link in the description box to take advantage of this service. All right, moving on to the 5th section. This is the industry skills and tools section. This is where you include all the tools, how to use your industry skills. A lot of people ignore this, but I have to say it's extremely important to have this section. When writing your skills and your tools, it's important to use bullet points. This makes it easy for hiring managers to quickly scan through your resume and identify your skills so that they can confirm if it actually relates to the job that you're hiring for. Some of the things that you need to include in this section are your technical skills, for example, your programming languages add them as bullet points. Your software, the databases that you use. You also want to talk about the soft skills like communication, problem solving skills, leadership skills, and also the tools and applications that you're very versed in using. Remember that this section should be tailored to the particular job that you're applying for. This is so important when writing your resume. Don't create a one resume fits all job resume, but instead create each resume for a specific job. Now let's talk about something that can really make you stand out from the crowd. Awards, certifications, honors. So your awards section is the sixth section of your resume, and this section is your chance to showcase your achievements, and it also helps you demonstrate your excellence to hiring managers. This is where you want to blow your trumpet. So whether that's an industry award, a professional certification, ensure that you include a brief description of each award or each accomplishment along with the year that you were given this award. And finally, the seventh section, which is somewhat optional but also a cherry on the top, is the recommendation section. This section has always worked for me. You know how LinkedIn has the recommendations feature? Well, this section on your resume is going to act very similar to that. I found out that what others say about you can sometimes even carry more weight than what you say about yourself, right? So go ahead to include 2 to 3 quotes or recommendations from past colleagues, past managers, or even mentors. This can go a long way to impress intending employers and also stand you out from the competition out there. Now, here is the best part about living in the AI world. ChatGPT can help you write your resume following all the things that I've shared today. I have a video that guides you step by step on how to use ChatGPT to create your resume. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out. I have to say the job market right now is extremely competitive. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward with your resume. You want to make sure that it's professional and adequately highlights the value you bring on any team and in any role. So if you feel unsure and you still feel overwhelmed in crafting your resume, don't forget to check out my service. The link is in the description box below. As always, thank you so much for watching and stopping by. If you truly enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button. Till next time, I'll see you in another video.